So work, therefore, to be able to say to every harsh appearance. What's an example of a harsh appearance? Think literally. Look at the person next to you. If they're pretty, or if they're ugly, if they're handsome, or if they're ugly, understand that it's just an appearance. It doesn't tell you anything about the person, necessarily. It's just an appearance. It can be something very different from what it looks like. Sorry, I'm referring to humans as it. People can be very different from what they look like. You can say that. Now, apply that to things in your life. What's something that in your life is very harsh, that's very negative? Something that can happen to a person that's very harsh. Death. So that's what was written up there earlier, death. If you die, I assume that that's probably pretty much the end of it. But how might a person encounter death?
Drugs.
I mean, obviously not personally.
Losing a loved one.
So losing a loved one. So you could lose a loved one. Let's say that you lose your parents. Now, you could look at that and say, this is a horrible thing, it's a terrible thing. And yeah, it is harsh, it is bad. But you can also choose to grow from it. So, for example, I know somebody who lost her mom, God, it's got to be a year and a half, 2 years by now. And she posts a lot on Instagram, frequently about it. Every month or two, she posts pictures of her mom and just posts things like, I love you more and more every day. I miss you more and more every day. This pain doesn't go away. And it's odd. I talk with her, when we message, and she will pour that kind of stuff out. But then, if you mention something like, I don't know, like steak. Oh, big old capital letters. OMG, I love steak. My favorite steakhouse is blah. And then she'll go on, like her mood completely changes. It's a weird kind of dichotomy that when her mind focuses on her mom, it's very negative. Now, in some of the conversations that we've had about the loss of her mom, she can see how that's an experience that she hopes one day will make her stronger. But today, it just completely collapses her still when she thinks about it. Anything in your life that happens that's negative, is it negative? Yes, we might say it is. But in the grand scheme of things, it might not be negative. It might actually be something that's very beneficial towards you. You might say, well, how is the loss of a loved one, how can that possibly be a good thing? Well, it can refocus you on life. It can help you to develop perseverance. It can help you to become empathetic towards other people. So is it bad? It's just a thing. The things that you encounter in life, they're not good or bad for the most part. They're just things. They're just experiences. It's going to be up to you whether you dwell on it as a negative thing, as a harsh thing, or if you're going to accept it and grow from it and turn it into a positive thing. Most things in life are not good or bad. They're just things. They might be things that we like or don't like. But whether or not you grow from it is entirely on you. And you can grow off of something that, and the growth can far outweigh, the growth can far outweigh the negativity that you encounter in your life as well. It's going to be your call. It's just a hard thing because when someone says that to you, like, hey, your mom died, it's your call. You want it to be a good thing or a bad thing. It doesn't feel like it's your call. It feels like you're overwhelmed emotionally, and it sounds callous to say something like that, because obviously you're going through something that's deeply emotional, and time will go by, and you will heal from it, and you will heal from it. But whether or not you use that experience to turn you into a better person is entirely on you. In other words, it almost seems like if you encounter some negativity, there's some level of responsibility to become better from it, because the alternative is to become worse from it. And if you're faced with those two options, I can either be made weaker by this thing, or I can be made stronger by this thing. And that really is a choice. As callous as it sounds, and as hard as it is for us to accept that really is the truth about every tragedy in our lives. You can choose to be made weaker by it, or jaded. You can become angry, bitter, hostile, hurt, or you can become stronger from it. And it's a choice. It's just a really hard choice to make, because it's hard to kind of pick yourself up when you're down. And this is why it's good to have people around you who can empathize, to have people who will allow you to go through the difficult thing, but still be there for you. Not try to change your mind off of it, not try to distract you from it, because then it just lasts longer, of course. but to have people around you who are going to help you kind of build past this. He's saying that for every hardship, so work, so try, therefore, so that you can say to every harsh appearance, because it takes practice. It takes work to be able to get to that point. No one can just naturally do that. You have to be able to step back and kind of recenter your mind on things. I think I've talked before about high places in here. High places. You guys ever go to, anybody here ever go hiking, go to like Cowles Mountain? Yeah. If you ever go to Cowles Mountain, especially certain times of year, the traffic sucks, parking sucks, there's a lot of people on it. Cowles Mountain is over in Mission Trails. It's the highest peak in San Diego City, I think it is. Not the county, but the city itself, proper. And it's only like 1.5 miles up and then like 1.5 miles back, so it's 3 miles round trip. But some of the areas are pretty steep. It's a little bit rocky, but it's really well traveled. Lots of people on this thing. Now, if you go there during certain times of year, again, parking is terrible. It's crowded. I've been there before where they're doing road construction nearby. So it was during summertime, so it was hot. You're stuck in traffic. There's, maybe there's a person on the sidewalk walking past you. They're walking faster than you're driving because you're stuck in this thing. And then you finally get over there, you park, you have to walk a long ways up the hill just to be able to start hiking, and you're going up the trail. It's hot, it's sunny, there's very little shade. There's a lot of people, it's crowded. But something happens when you get to the top, which is that you're able to look down over this mountain, and you're able to see, for example, like a traffic jam that you were stuck in a little bit ago. And you can realize that when you're down there, it looked like chaos. But from this high vantage point, you can see that there really is an order to it. Cars are merging, everyone's kind of going to this one side, there are lanes. But from this high point of being separated from it, now you can see the order of it. The same is true as you're looking down the mountain and you see people coming up. It isn't, you see that there are these lines of people who are coming up. It's well ordered. The city itself seems peaceful because you're away from the noise and the commotion of all of it. And so sometimes what it takes for us to be able to see the order and to see how something benefited us, it takes time and distance. We have to be a bit separated from this thing that happened. And then after that, you can look back on it and go, okay. And so maybe at some point you can reach a height from which tragedy no longer seems so tragic. It now seems like it's ordered. It seems like there's a purpose to it. It seems like it's beneficial in some meaningful way. And so that takes practice, that takes work, especially to be able to do it in the moment. So the goal, hopefully, is to not have to sit back 5 years or 10 years after a tragic event and say, I can see how that made me better. Work instead so that in the moment even, when you're going through something difficult, you can look at it and say, this thing that's happening seems tragic, but you're not tragic. It's bad, it's not what I would have wanted to happen. You don't want this loved one to die, but I can see how this is going to make me better, make me stronger, so that way at least the death is not in vain. Somehow, because obviously if it's the loved one, the presumption is that person loved you back as well, and you can ask yourself, would that person want you to wallow and be miserable and sad by their death? And I guess you can answer that for yourself. If you guys have a funeral tomorrow, would you want us to all be there crying and weeping, or would you want us to be sitting there and joking about it and having fun with it? I don't know. Some people might want you to be miserable. I want everyone to be crying and sad and desperately miserable. And then some of you sit there and go, no, I want everyone to get together and have fun. I want it to be a celebration. And that's a personality type, I suppose. But if you can sit there in the moment again and realize, wow, this death, while it's not what I would have wanted, while it's not what I wanted to happen, it is something that I can see is going to help me grow and get better if I allow it to. If I allow it to refine me, make me better. So if you can do that in the moment, you can help to shape yourself, rather than sit back 5 or 10 years later and see how you were shaped. To instead sit there in the moment and shape yourself in it. So to be able to look at something that seems negative, something that seems tragic, and say, you're not what you appear to be. You appear to be tragic, but you're not. What you actually are is something that's going to help me grow and become better. So he's saying work, therefore, to be able to do that. To be able to see tragedy in the moment and make something positive out of it. Simple. Questions, comments, concerns, complaints, criticisms, critiques? I feel like I'm at a funeral today, man. Y'all are dead.